was always a sporting person, so I would, at public school, there's a very big aspect of public school with sports and stuff. So for that, yeah, private school, if I had a choice, I would have gone to private school as well, because I felt that it would have helped me with my education in terms of being more focused, not the big numbers in the classroom and stuff. So I think that it would definitely be private school would be good in that aspect. But because I was into sports so much, I would think if I had to choose, I would take public school. But just because of sports.
I am a product of both. I went to public school when I was in elementary school to middle school, and then I went to public school when I was in high school. I can honestly say I feel like my public school education was not as good as my private school education. I'm from Washington, D.C., and their public school education is kind of piss poor. So, you know, I feel like private school education is better in my opinion.
Well, I personally went to a private school, and I didn't really fully know what public schools are like until I went to secondary school. But to me, I understood that private schools are a little more slightly enjoyable than public schools.
Public schools, I feel, are better than the private school, just because the students have different opportunities that they would have in a public school that might not even happen in a private school. A private school seems to be more secluded to maybe a certain type of group who might be able to afford it, but where a public school is, everybody comes together as just trying to learn and going to school by themselves. And I feel like there's more opportunity to meet new people and different ideas in a public school than more in a private school.
If I would send my child to a private school or a public school, and why, I have had the benefit of both private and public personally, and I have considered sending my child that I'm going to have to both as well. But truth be told, I see absolutely nothing wrong with public schools, and public schools are cheaper. So who knows? But I feel strongly about public secondary schools. I feel strongly about that, and I would want my child to go to a public secondary school. In terms of private, depends, and as I said, the cheaper option always is better.
I think I would send my daughter, to a private school, because the way how things in public school are now, they're not the same as when I was going. You understand?
Because to get better education and like forward with studies.
I had to go because only my dad doing his choice at the time. Private schools, went up private schools, and during my era, they were for seclusive type of children for private schools, like the upper class.
Sent to a public school because I had no choice. It was on the road and close to home, and my parents felt it was easier to get on soon after 3 o'clock than me wandering through town.
I went to public school because my parents really couldn't afford to send me to a private school. And to be honest with you, I don't think I turned out any better or worse because I went to public school,
Well, boy, I like everything about school, yes. I guess I could have changed the flogging. No corporal punishment would have been nice. But I guess teachers, and the teachers were just in it for the money. So they need teachers who were in it for the teaching.
Well, actually, I teach at both. So I teach at a private school because of facilities, because they had a really good theater space and a nice hall and an auditorium with a backstage and things that I could use. But it is specifically because of my thinking on private and public schools. I didn't want to have a private school profile because there's something very exclusive about private school profile, which means that people who can't afford it think that they can't come and that they're excluded and that they can't have certain benefits. So I taught and I teach at both private and public.
Okay, I would have to say the public, as it pertains to sports. I think they have greater emphasis on sports as opposed to the education factor. Sad to say, that's the truth. Even like the sixth form schools, most of the children which come into these schools are what causes them to even enter these schools sometimes based upon their athletic ability or swimming ability or what have you. Sometimes these schools and the teachers are just so focused upon how well they would do at sports as opposed to how well they could do.
The government, obviously the government does the addition, because right now we do Spanish, you do music, you do singing, but obviously that was added by the government. And they also bring in specialist teachers to teach anything they add that they don't believe that the teachers there can do. You get a specialist coming to do those as well.
Yes, I have the same difficulties in private schools and public schools, except that in private schools I have access to a lot more facilities, which I think is important. It's often missing in public schools. So I often have great space to use when I am teaching drama classes. I find that I have auditorium and I have hall and I have a stage and I have things that I can work with. But certainly in terms of discipline, which is always something I struggle with, not my discipline but children, I have the same issues with discipline in public school and private school. Everybody's hard ears.